Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to James MacNeil's Spiritual Sunday. My name is James MacNeil, and this is Spiritual Sunday. All right. I am the computer tech. I am the cameraman. I'm doing everything today. And it's just due to unwellness on my team that I am here all alone, and I hope this is all going well. So here we go. Today, we're going to tackle a new question. So again, this is James MacNeil's Spiritual Sunday, where the answer is love. What's the question? And today's question is the same question as last week, and that is God transgender? So I'm going to do a quick recap on what is the answer from last week and why I wanted to continue today. So I'm startled between you and I. I'm startled. I'm heartbroken. I'm shocked. I'm horrified at the amount of tension and anger and hate and fear and frustration that's gone on in this conversation. And I'm a beginner. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a politician. I'm not an academic. I'm unqualified, just like about 7 billion of us. And yet 7 billion of us are being dragged into a conversation that we're unqualified for, and we're frankly being bullied into one side or another. So my goal here is to bring a loving perspective to any conversation. That's my goal. So what does love have to do with it? Ooh, that's kind of Tina Turner-ish. So what does love have to do with this conversation around transgender? And I definitely want to get it as right as possible. So here we go. Last week, by the way, I got great comments, great feedback, great encouragement. And I really felt like last week I chickened out. I didn't go as far as I wanted to. So I want to do a quick recap and go farther into this conversation to see if we can't find some love and truth and peace and joy and progress. Okay, here we go. So first, I just want to cover over a couple of things that I did last week. So last week, I made an attempt, and I hope I get it right, to define what is transgender. So transgender is when, I'm going to see if I can do this without reading. Transgender is when the gender assigned, the gender identity and gender expression of an individual does not align with the gender assignment at birth. And so, excuse me, quickly, there is biological gender, there's gender identity, there's gender expression, and then there is sexual identity, sexual orientation. Okay, hopefully I've got some of these things right. So the gender assigned at birth is based on biological gender. And for those of us who are amateurs at this, I'm just talking about simple stuff like the same as dogs and cats and things, that there's some have a penis, some don't, that kind of thing. And so it's kind of a simple thing, but I want everyone, right and left, to be mindful that there are some individuals at birth that the gender definition is not so easy. There are human beings born with both male and female genitalia. And then I'm not sure how that's managed. I'm not an expert again. And I just want you to know that I'm very sensitive to the implications of, you know, that moment in time where at the hospital, someone has to make a decision or people have to do things. And how does that impact the life of the individual? And so I think we can come at this with far more sensitivity. So there we go. That's the beginning of it. Then, as a person, it is possible that that individual does not feel that there's an alignment between their gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, and gender assigned at birth. So let me now define some of these things. Just bear with me. I'm not doing this for no reason. Gender identity is how I see myself or perceive myself or feel myself to be inside. Now, this is a psychological thing. This is not a biological thing. It's not unrelated to biology, but it is psychology. Now, psychology, psyche is soul. Psyche is soul. It's the study, the research, the knowledge as it relates to our soul. So psychology is spiritual. And so then we go into the spiritual realm of gender identity. That's why I asked the question, is God transgender? Which sounds really provocative, but when we think about it, it's actually not. The spirit realm, for those of us who are so inclined to believe in such a thing, the spiritual realm transcends, which means exists beyond the limits of, and trans, by the way, is a word we're going to be getting back to, but exists beyond the parameters, limitations of this time-space continuum, which means the spirit world transcends time, space, and matter. It also transcends the yin-yang binary options of this time-space continuum, which means in the spirit world, we're neither male nor female. The Bible says we are neither married nor given to marriage in heaven or the afterlife, however you want to define that. That said, in the spirit world, we are neither male nor female. We transcend the limitations of this binary option time-space continuum. Therefore, spiritually, we are neither limited to male or limited to female. Therefore, yes, God is transgender, and so are you, and so am I. 100% of all human beings, I believe, are spiritual beings currently existing in physical form. If we are spiritual beings existing in physical form, spiritually, we are all transgender. So we don't have to start with an us and them attitude. We don't have to start with, oh, those people. And those people is where I want to go with this conversation, right? The idea that there's us and them. We are being programmed, brainwashed to be divisive and have animosity because it sells newspapers and there's agendas. So I'm encouraging you and I, no matter how much we disagree, to dialogue and get on the same page. So let's get back to it. So there is the biological gender, and there is an option of a gender affirming surgery where a biological gender can be adjusted to align with someone's gender identity. So in the spiritual realm, if someone feels psychologically that they're a woman and their physical body is, biologically male, they're able to make that adjustment. They don't have to. Not every transgender person wants a gender affirmation surgery, okay? So then gender expression is how I show up, how I express myself. Forgive me if I'm going to blow this, but am I more masculine or feminine in how I show up? And it could, yeah. So I'm going to back off of that one because I can't recall all the finite details of it. All right, so let's hopefully we've got a playground to begin today. So there is biological gender, body. There is gender identity. My gender identity. Did I say that right? Yeah, my gender identity. How I see myself inside in the spiritual realm. Then there's my gender expression. How I show up in the world. Do I show up as so I could have a full beard and carry myself in a fully masculine way, and I have the legal right to identify as female or non-binary. Non-binary would mean not limited to masculine or feminine. And I can maintain a beard and very masculine, whatever tendencies. So that's a gender expression. I don't have to anything. All right. So now here's what I was hoping would happen from last week and will happen today. And that is that we can be a little bit more kind to each other and be a little bit more respectful. I cannot know what it's like for a person experiencing transgender, I'll just say complexities or confusions or discomfort with a world that's not designed for me. And this is not a new thing as far as the world not being ready for something. My father was left-handed, and as a child, they said being left-handed came from the devil, and they would tie his left arm to the chair in school, and he had to learn to write with his right hand. You'd say, oh, that's so horrible, that's abusive. I'm like, I'm with you. And we got past that. So now left-handed people are not necessarily of the devil. And so we moved on from that. We moved on from a lot of things, and we're learning. Where was I going? Hopefully we can understand that not everyone is experiencing life the way you are. So I'm blessed. I mentioned this last week. I'm blessed with, I am biologically male. My gender identity is male. My gender expression is male, although I'm told I can be very effeminate. I do have a female mind in a lot of ways. I am a straight cisgender male. And so for me, I guess it's easy, right? Life is easier in a society. And I would love it if we as a society and as individuals can adapt and adjust and respect and love people. Good. Now that we've got the playground hopefully clarified, the challenge is not, in my opinion, that a war between the left and the right, that transgender individuals need a radical left political movement to wage war with the adversarial right, who is somehow hateful and hurtful. And if people are hateful and hurtful, that's just hateful, hurtful people, whether they're on the right or the left. Don't kid yourself. It's not like radical left are always loving and kind and gentle and supportive. So let's just say mean is mean, wrong is wrong, ignorant is unfortunate, and people can be educated and we can learn. But this left and right war thing, I started to ask myself, what's going on there? And for those of you who are in the transgender, I'll say a transgender individual or part of a transgender movement, whether you see yourself as one or not, I just want you to know that I'm going to refer to a people group as the radical left. Now, I have no idea what that actually means or who's in it. Are there 12 of them? Are there 12 million of them? I don't really know. What is the definition of radical? I don't know. I'm using terms I'm learning in the media. But I will say this, to those of you who see yourself as transgender or part of the transgender conversation, I want you to know that those people who say, we've got your back, they may not. You may just be the pawn they're using to acquire more power. And I know this might sound hateful or hurtful, but I'm actually saying humans, we're on the same team, and there is this divisive thing that is not your friend. So let me just say this. This group, radical left, there was a time, maybe before you were born, that they used to care about women's rights. There was a time before you were born that they believed in something called free speech. There was a time before you were born that they would have said it is wrong for a biological male to strike a biological woman. They used to believe things like that. They used to believe in free speech, women's rights, a woman's right to choose. But now these same people would say a woman does not have the right to choose who uses their change room. They do not have the right to choose who strips naked in front of them in a sporting experience. They have no right to choose, nor speak out, nor even have an opinion about who competes against them in sports. That a woman has no right to choose. She has no right for free speech. And if this movement says this biological male is allowed to not only strip naked in front of them in a change room, but they're also allowed to engage in combat sports, to actually, strike the woman. And that same people group that before you were born would have went nuts at the idea of a woman not having the right over her body, have the right to speak up, that a gender masculine individual is allowed to strike them, and making it legally possible. And if a woman speaks out about this, she can be accused of hate language. This radical left can cancel you. They can get you fired as a professor. They can take your degree as a psychologist. They can strip you of all kinds of things if you fail to comply with their current agenda. And by the way, hopefully you can see me as a friend, my transgender friends. The moment you're a parent, you're going to find out they're not on your side, because parents cannot be involved, right? Parents are not smart enough. But this radical left knows what's best. And so all I'm saying is, let's not be pulled into a war. We're all individuals, and we all can play nicer. We can all learn more. We can all understand the other person's perspective. And so is it a radical left, radical right war? Now, let me go to the next level. I don't even think it is. I don't even think the radical left is the source of the problem, even though I just suggested I think so. I think there's something far darker. I don't know what it is, the amount of anger, and it's just so heartbreaking that like, I don't know if you saw the Netflix movie The Great Hack, where a company called Cambridge Analytica was seen to be able to manipulate our social media experience. They were able to climb inside of our heads and feed us whatever they wanted to. They could figure out which side you're leaning and then feed you an enormous amount of hate or fear to provoke you into one side or the other. And I've had conversations with people who I love and I respect, and they love and they respect me, and we're good communicators. And we got really heated. We both felt completely attacked on this topic. And I'm like, what happened? How did we get sucked into such a negative energy when we love, like, respect each other and we feel we're good communicators? And I thought, there's some kind of like insidious animosity that we've been fed. And if you don't think you're vulnerable to this, let's just remember the basics. You become who you hang around. You hang around kind people, you become kinder. Angry people, you become more angry. People who, whatever, work out, you work out. Vegans, you become vegan. Not necessarily, but we become who we hang around. And then we go on to social media, where we're spoon-fed, trillions of dollars of genius, technology to choreograph our leanings and our bents. So what agenda and who's behind it, I have no idea. But it just seems to me that we've all been sucked into something that just is not true. Some people are mean. I don't care if they're right or left. I don't care if I do care. It's not about whether they're transgender or straight or gay or lesbian, bisexual, Baptist, Buddhist, whatever. Mean people are mean. And those of us who would say we could benefit from some accommodation and some understanding as we go through life, whether our issues are learning disabilities, as I have, or whether it's I don't fit into the normal ways of things. I say we would be best served to communicate and love and seek truth. And when I hear these conversations, they don't seem to be any of that. I'll give you an example. There's a particular person has a show, and they were saying things like, well, okay, here's one of the things. They said transgender individuals are at risk of hate language and violence, and even their physical lives are being threatened, being transgender, and they must be protected. And then that same host put I would say maybe a 10-year-old, a transgender female on the screen and gave us their name and their location. Where are they? Just in case anyone wanted to hurt them or hate them, this talk show host wanted to make sure you knew where to find them and what they looked like. And I'm thinking, where is love? Where is love? You announce it's dangerous for a person to be transgender, and then you, like, come on. So these are complex questions. And if you're curious just how complex it gets, there's movements in some countries, and I'm from Canada, to enter into laws around hate speech. Now, hate speech is super powerful, kind of like terrorism has been and is with the United States, that if someone is perceived a terrorist, then the power given to the legal entities is astronomical, and hate speech is one of those super powerful categories. And if we're moving towards compelled speech, which I heard on an interview is a move towards fascism and very scary stuff, but hate speech is a very powerful thing. Now, when a transgender individual is honestly seeking how to best define themselves, they are free to find their own term. Now, I have no problem with that. If a person says, refer to me as male or female or whatever, if they come up with another category and they say, I don't know what to say. But even if it's something tricky to say, like if I was to say to you, I identify as oko poko papa poo, or whatever, some sound that you get wrong, then can I accuse you of hate speech? Can you be charged for failing to pronounce this sound that I just gave you? And you'd say, oh, it's not that ridiculous. Well, so far, the radical left hasn't been absolutely right. They said no athlete would cheat and claim to be transgender. Apparently that didn't work out. That has happened. In fact, I was a competitive athlete, and I know that athletes cheat. Some athletes at the highest level would say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So to say no athlete would cheat, that's just irrational. Then no teenage boy would claim to be a transgender woman so that he can be allowed into the women's locker room to both display his genitalia and watch women strip. Turns out they were wrong about that too. And then no government would abuse, the hate speech laws. They would never, threaten a professor. They would never threaten a psychiatrist. And it just keeps showing up as, did you really think that through? The evidence is not supporting this reactionary stuff. And so I think it requires more love, more patience, more thought, more kindness, more teamwork to get this right and to get everything right. So I know this is a very hot potato topic, and I mean no offense to anybody. And everyone who would identify as a radical left, forgive me. It was just an easy term to use to seek to make a point that you and I are pawns in a bigger game, that we have been sucked into hate, we've been sucked into fear, we've been sucked into, and this topic is just been used. And I think we've been used. And I would encourage you to say, let's not give in to whatever machine is behind all of this. I don't believe some would say that, elected officials are not the leaders, they're the elected pawns of other entities. And I'm not jumping into giant conspiracy theories, but I am saying this: would be better off loving and listening, would be better off adapting and accommodating to work together as human beings. Not this us and them mindset, but an us and an individual mindset. An individual means that person was mean, not all tall white people or not all these groups. The generalization into groups is very unfortunate. To say all transgender individuals want to use a specific washroom. You can't speak for everyone. Listen to them, listen to every individual, and find ways to make this a safe society where we respect and accommodate each other, because we're all unique. We all need some grace. And I believe it requires more teamwork than giving undue power to people who have not proven themselves trustworthy of it. And so hopefully this has been a helpful video. I'm sincerely seeking to find a way towards more peace rather than more disagreement. Can I get better at understanding transgender sensitivities? Oh, yes, 100%. Can I get better at everything? Yes. Can you? Yes. And I believe if we will seek truth in love and accommodate and work together, the world will be a much better place. Please remember, all animosity is egoic. You can't fight with me. You can only fight with my ego. And I can't fight with you. I can only fight with your ego. Your soul and my soul, if we're at peace, we can work through just about anything. And when two or more are gathered in the name of love, the miraculous, supernatural, infinite wealth, wisdom, and power will flow to us and through us, and we can resolve things. And my hope and my prayer is not that you find me offensive. And if you do, just let me know lovingly, if you can, so I can learn, rather than try and cancel me or you know what I mean, hurt me. There's no need to cancel, control, and attack people when the challenge is simply they don't understand. Let's seek truth in love, and I believe we'll all be better off. I hope this is helpful for you. I sincerely seek to be loving. I can't pretend to be unbiased. Anyone who thinks they're unbiased is just not being rational. And I want to get it right, and I hope you do too. Hopefully, we understand that we are all in a spiritual realm transgender. And for those who struggle with how that relates to their physical reality, let's be gracious and loving and team up on this thing. And yeah, just understand this. We may be used in a power play that we know nothing of. Let's not get used. Let's not be sucked in. Let's speak truth and love. Let's seek to understand each other. And I hope this is helpful. Love, joy, and peace. I hope you have a beautiful and blessed Sunday and a beautiful and blessed life. Please like, love, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell. If you are willing to, please comment and let me know what topics you'd like me to see if I can bring the perspective of divine love to. That is my hope. And there we go. Love, joy, peace. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day.